The Cunha Tunnel is basically everything anybody ever says on a phone, on a computer. Those guys are down there and they're listening to everything. And there's one spot in there that this lieutenant was telling us about that he worked in, and it was called Otherworldly Communications. And I'm like, what? He's like, there's only 8 of us. No enlisted, just officers. We're all linguists, and we just listen all day to Otherworldly Communications. Come on now. If we're talking about aliens, who can communicate with an alien? And he said that we have been doing this for a very long time, that we're already traveling in space. And I remember seeing them coming down. They were wearing like black uniforms. Only thing on their sleeve was a blue circle with a red pointer coming up the top on the left arm. We were told they were space program guys. This is 2007. A space program? What the hell is a space program? They're already in space and on the moon. And there is a dialect, and we do have linguists that understand the dialect. So then, 2 weeks later, a couple of guys I knew that worked in the Cunha Tunnel, I pulled aside and I said, listen, man, that lieutenant said there's a place called Otherworldly Communications. And they said, there is, man. We can't even go in the hallway over there. And then you find out why we're in Iraq. Because there's some artifacts that we have to get out of Iraq. We went to Iraq because we wanted to plunder some kind of artifacts they were looking for. He confirmed this. They said that there were some artifacts from, God, who knows how long ago, that were extremely important, and they were from other civilizations that came to Earth and started the whole program. And one of the officers said, this is our 4th civilization on Earth that has been this far or even further along than we are. Let's just hope we make it. What does that mean? Hope we make it. Was someone going to take us all out? And he indicated with his eyes that, yeah, we could be taken out.
I mean, you see it with glasses and everything.
So it says in 92, Whitney attempted to have an alien implant removed by a surgeon, but the procedure had to be stopped when the implant responded to the removal.
See, this will last.
But then it goes, I guess it went under.
But that's the hard part, I think.
But it disappeared again.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It's actually moving now.
Well, he's poking it, but it went under.
It's on the run.
Well, it kind of is, because I could see it just bright as day, and now it's, I don't see it.
Have you ever seen, they just recently made images of quantum entangled photons?
No, I mean, I know about quantum entanglement, another great mystery. I haven't seen the images.
Spooky action in a distance.
Yeah.
Take a look at what this looks like. Quantum entangled photons look like a yin-yang. Like, exactly.
Oh, awesome.
Exactly. That's it. That's a quantum entangled photon.
God.
Yeah,
Are you
oh my
kidding?
God. Oh my God.
So each one contains at its center a bit of the other.
Exactly. So maybe someone knew this thousands and thousands of years ago. The idea that the Chinese or whoever created that initial symbol, the idea that they just stumbled accidentally upon an actual image of quantum entangled photons, very unlikely. That just seems too insane and too amazing.
So what you are seeing here should be red mercury, which runs away from garlic, but is attracted to all gold stuff. And as you can see on top, it has no mirror reflections. It is invisible in the mirror, and it's not magnetic.
Invisible in the mirror, huh? Yo, that is crazy. I'm about to get me a red mercury suit.
Those are the rumors, huh? Tell me what you think about this. Because when you Google red mercury, it is getting weird, really weird. Because red mercury is on the one side a myth, but on the other side, you can go to prison if you are trying to sell or buying this stuff. So how is it possible to go into prison if this stuff is fake? Can you tell me? This is really, really impressive. And when you go deeper into this stuff, then you can find that it is said that this liquid can produce free energy. It's very interesting.
So fam, red mercury is a superconductor. It's a modified version of regular mercury. And it's basically the philosopher's stone. It's said it can be used for healing, or it can be used to make quote-unquote nuclear bombs. That's how much energetic potential is inside this mercury. And as you saw in the video earlier, family, it's attracted to certain things and repels certain things. So garlic repels it. It doesn't have a reflection, so another name for it is vampire blood. And I'm in the belief that this material is being used by the governments of the world right now for a lot of different purposes. Like for instance, if you take this red mercury and spin it at a certain speed, you'll create a magnetic field, and with that field you can create lift. You feel me? So this is another way you can power certain ships. Like in the Mahabharata, they talk about using red mercury to power Vimanas. This is from that 20,000-year-old manuscript from India family, the Mahabharata. I don't think for a second that the military-industrial complex isn't using this. And they keep saying it's not real, but again, you can go to prison for buying or selling it. So I promise you, it's real. They just don't want you knowing about it. But anyway, family, this is just some more of the magical, scientifical secrets that they have hidden from us. And the more the veil gets lifted, the more these things will be revealed. And the more we have access to them, the more we have access to everything else inside the realm that we've been locked away from. There's a lot more in the treasure chest hidden from us, and we want it all back. Let's go. Bang, bang.
So what you're seeing here is the real black goo. Yeah. Well, seems like it is intelligent, right? Programmable and magnetic. Leaked footage. Think of the possibilities with this goo. Slimy, intelligent black goo. This is going to blow your mind. For medical advices, we're here for transport mission. It looks very impressive. Release. And on top of that, it has a self-healing capability. Look at this now. He's cutting it, and then turns back. And here again. And it can pass many kind of obstacles, different surfaces, underwater, in the air, through glass tubes. Can use this black goo for different kind of terrain.
We were just talking about this before the show started, about a music videotape that was stolen. Do you want to talk about that now?
Yeah.
Just break it down. What happened?
I mean, it was a videotape that we did in my house just for my private collection. You know what I mean? Snoop was a part of it.
They got it?
Somebody stole this tape from my house or something like that, and there's a lot of X-rated things on it, you know, so...
So, well, let's say a second. Snoop, you don't know about this? Remember the tape? You're on it. It's gone.
Bueno?
It's gone. So what happened? You had a party? Someone, don't you? This is like the Tommy Pamela Lee thing. It's gone. Now it's going to be out.
It's worse than that, man.
So are we looking for it? Can we say anything? Anybody watching?
I mean,
whoever was at Dre's house at that party, you better return that tape.
Please bring it back.
Oh my goodness. What do you plan on doing? Is it going to get out? What are we going to do?
I mean, if it gets out there, you know, so be it. I'm just letting everybody know, you know. It was out of my private collection. That's all. It wasn't meant to be out there like that.
All right, well, let's hope it gets returned in the mail.
Well, I'm saying that no fewer than 26 NFL team owners have documented ties, past and present NFL team owners have documented business ties to either the gambling community and or the organized crime syndicate. I'm also saying that no fewer than 70 NFL games have been fixed.
Now, that's pretty rough stuff. You're saying no fewer than 70 NFL games have been fixed. You mean the outcome, the point spread, what?
I'm saying the points were shaved and thereby fixed. Yeah.
How does this happen?
Well, I first got into this about 1983. Vincent Persani, who is the head of the Michigan State Attorney General's Office Organized Crime Division, told me, if you're going to do a book about the NFL, Dan, you're going to have to get into this guy, Don Dawson, because he was fixing games. We knew it. I went to my friends and my sources at the Internal Revenue Service, the Organized Crime Intelligence Division. They said Don Dawson was fixing games. I went to the FBI, the Organized Crime and Racketeering Section of the Justice Department, and Strike Force field offices. Everybody told me what Don Dawson was fixing games. At that point, I had enough evidence to print that allegedly Don Dawson was fixing NFL games. He was a major bookmaker in the Midwest. I then went to Dawson. I tracked him down. I jumped through all kinds of hoops to interview him, and when I interviewed him on about the 7th or 8th interview, he admitted to me that he had personally participated in the fixing of no fewer than 32 NFL games.
How does that happen?
He liked to work with the quarterback. He would go to the quarterback would come to him and say, I need some bread. What's the line on the game this week? And the bookmaker would say, you guys are favored by 6 points. And then the reply was, we're not going to cover the spread. And basically that was it.
Now, do you name players?
Oh, sure, I name players, and also in 1979, I go into the specifics of 8 fixed games that were allegedly fixed by 2 referees who were investigated by both the FBI and the IRS, and I list the 8 games on page 308 of the book.
Yeah. The obvious question, you're talking about all these games being fixed, you're talking about all these people involved, you're talking about going to various agencies, and they're saying who the people are involved. Why has this gone uncovered if this is the case?
What I'm also alleging in the book is that no fewer than 50 legitimate investigations of corruption within the NFL have been either suppressed or just flat out killed as a result of a sweetheart relationship between NFL Security, which is the internal police force within the league, and a variety of federal and state and local law enforcement agencies.
You probably dreamt about how your first NFL start would go. Let's see here. 28 carries, 147 yards. How did the real thing? Jeez, how did the real thing compare to what you dreamed it would be like?
Honestly, just thinking about it, I told Christian, I said, I don't know how you do it, man. It's a long game, but, you know, this is just the beginning, and, you know, we're going to see where we go from here.
When did you find out that you were going to be starting?
When did I find out? Maybe Friday night, you know, something like that. I was always prepared. I mean, we went through training camp. You know, I was RB1 at training camp, so, you know, just been preparing from there and just, you know.
Did you find out you started?
That question right there is why I'm at. That's why I don't like really talking to media, because you say one thing wrong, and then, you know, just skip that question.
Bro, no, he messed up too.
We were definitely looking at every single patient born in my practice. There was no cherry picking. There was no, we're going to exclude you for this or that. Every baby born was looked at, and we looked at every single office visit. We stratified them according to the number of vaccines they had.
Okay.
So basically we had over 500 who had 0 vaccines, and then we had another 3,700 and some who had some vaccines. And what we found out was actually even mind-boggling for myself. What I was clearly seeing was these kids don't get sick. They don't get chronic conditions. Well, the data spoke for itself. And you're showing your viewers the graphs. Those orange lines are over time, over that 10.5 years, the more vaccines you had, the worse you were for whether we looked at infections, ADD, ADHD, neurodevelopmental issues, eczema, allergies. It doesn't matter what we looked at, even just plain old anemia skyrockets in the vaccinated when compared to the blue line, the unvaccinated.
Wow.
This data is so powerful.
If I had access to this information before my daughter was born, I would have made very different choices. Every parent wants the best for their child. Every parent deserves access to all the information to make an informed choice. I share this because I wish someone shared it with me.
Convinced yet?
These cameras can be converted to near infrared, you know? So then I started taking photos, and since I was doing a lot of flying, I started going up, and boom. I was actually amazed to see the incredible flatness that you get from high altitude.
Incredible flatness.
There was like clues that yours is flat. And I was like, this is blowing my mind. Everywhere I looked, yours is flat. And as I was lying about the curvatures, I said, something is eerily wrong over here, man. When I saw across the Gulf, right off the coast of Texas there in Louisiana, flying to Orlando, and I saw all the way out in the Pacific, and you could even see the rays of light at a different angle. That tripped me out. But if you really go up high, then you realize, oh my God, yours is extremely flat.
This would be impossible on a globe. There is no 8 inches per mile square.
Equation for curvature of 8 inches per mile squared has been debunked over and over again. The flat earthers with their P900s and their P1000 cameras are constantly seeing things way off beyond the supposed curvature of it.
In fact, many tests have been done with lasers, cameras, filming mountain ranges 3, 4, 5, 6, 700 miles into the horizon, which are visible and shouldn't be visible if we were living on a globe. This is how much distance he covered with his camera, and he could see from here the Rocky Mountains. There you go. There is no 8 inches per mile square.
There's no way you can see 500 miles on the other side of this ball. And there's no buildings that are curving backwards. If point A to point B, you're on a ball, you know, they're not going to be flat up and down like on our flat Earth. They're going to be like this. There's no tilting. They've measured distances from the base of buildings to the top, level and flat.
People look out at the ocean and you see ships and stuff, and it appears like these ships and boats, they go down, and that is a huge factor as to why people think the Earth is round.
If you look at the ocean or a lake, it looks flat. Look at that.
Look how straight and flat that horizon is.
Looks flat, doesn't it?
See, it looks like a table or a board. Now, once in a while, you might see mountains or hills, but those are just like little bumps on what looks like a flat Earth. As ships sail away, they don't disappear all at once. You know, first, the bottom will disappear. See, the bottom of the ship is gone. Now we can see midway up, and then the whole thing disappears. So people realized that the world is curved. I mean, it's a big curve, but it's curved. That's what we call pseudoscience.
You could buy a camera now that zooms times 100, and you could zoom in on these ships and boats leaving your view, and your human eyeball's view, and pull out a camera and zoom in on it, and suddenly you're back. It's on top of a level surface, still cruising.
So the limit of your vision is where the sky meets the ground due to perspective. As they come together, that's the limit of your vision. That's called our horizon. The horizon is optical. If you had a super zoom camera, you can zoom in and make this angular size bigger to reveal small objects that you couldn't see. And then when you zoom out, it goes back together and things disappear into the horizon, not over.
We see skylines beyond what we're supposed to see. I mean, the visibility from 100, 200, 500 miles away, it debunks the whole 8 inches per mile squared.
Photogrammetry, I think, is one of the best way to convince yourself. You do multiple images of the ground, and then you put it in a software, and you realize how flat it is. You're seeing it yourself. It's your data. Nobody's lying to you. You've taken the data yourself. It's not Jay Tolan that's trying to, troll you. Like some people, they're like, he's trolling people, man.
And it's not SpaceX or NASA doing it either. It's yourself.
Yeah, it's yourself. You're doing your own experiment.
Britain stole Palestine from the Palestinians and gave it to the Zionists.
When did the status of Arab Jews begin to change? Was it with the emergence of Zionism in Europe, or was it the 1948 establishment of the State of Israel?
One key date is the Balfour Declaration of 1917, in which Britain pledged support for the establishment of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. This was a classic colonial document which completely disregarded the rights and aspirations of the local people. In 1917, the Arabs were 90% of the population, the Jews were 10%, and the Jews owned 2% of the land. And yet Britain, the colonial power, chose to privilege the Jews over the Arabs. And I've written a lot about the history of the British mandate in Palestine from 1920 to 1948. But I can summarize it for your listeners in one sentence, which is that Britain stole Palestine from the Palestinians and gave it to the Zionists. That's why resentment of the Zionist movement started to build up, not just in Palestine, where the Arabs were being displaced by the Zionist project, but throughout the Arab world. There was real sympathy for the Palestinians, and there is still strong sympathy for the Palestinians throughout the Arab world today. And I'm not talking about governments, I'm talking about people. So that was one factor that changed, and the Jews in Iraq were associated with Britain, the colonial power, and because Britain was responsible for the displacement of the Palestinians from Palestine by the Zionists, that fed into hostility towards the local Jews. Then the other turning point is 1948, the establishment of the State of Israel and the first Arab-Israeli War. This is when ethnic cleansing happened. This is when Israel expelled 750,000 Arabs. They became refugees, more than half the Palestinian population became refugees, and the name Palestine was wiped off the map. This is the Nakba. It had repercussions throughout the region.
This book is from 1589. It is a book on demonology, written by none other than James I, or King James, the man who would have the Bible printed that carries his name. He wrote a book on demonology and witchcraft in 1589.
Have y'all heard this about King James? King James was into witchcraft. So I Googled it. This is the first thing that came up. King James sought to prove the existence of witchcraft to other Christians through biblical teachings. Demonology.
Something happens there that's almost supernatural, and I can't claim to know what it is. What I saw can't happen. What I saw is impossible. I'm seeing these scientists, physicists and engineers and stuff, they're all scratching their heads, going, okay, we see this, but they've been struggling for a year now to explain what is actually happening. It's almost, not quite, but almost self-perpetuating. And that's it.
Man, and you've seen this.
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
One of the leading Anunnaki proposed creating primitive workers, called Lulu, to relieve the Anunnaki of their laborious tasks on Earth. He identified beings in the Abzu, who walked upright and used their front limbs as arms as potential candidates for modification. These beings lived among animals, competed for territory, and had hairy bodies similar to early Anunnaki ancestors. Enki captured these beings and presented them to the Anunnaki, suggesting they could be modified with Anunnaki essence. Ningish Zida examined the beings and found their essence similar to the Anunnakis, proposing that combining their essences would create a suitable worker. Enlil opposed the idea, advocating for the use of tools instead of creating new beings. Despite Enlil's objections, a council on Nibiru decided to proceed with the creation of the new beings for the sake of Nibiru's salvation. Enki and Ninmah led the experiments, attempting various combinations of essences and using crystal vessels for fertilization. Initial attempts faced challenges, but Enki suggested using vessels made from earthly materials, leading to the successful birth of a boy named Adamu, exhibiting a mix of Anunnaki and earthly features. Enki proposed creating female workers to facilitate autonomous procreation. Ninki, Enki's wife, agreed to carry the fertilized egg, resulting in the birth of a perfect female named Tiamat. Tiamat's essence was used to create more female workers, enabling the population of primitive workers to grow. Despite initial success, the workers faced reproductive issues, prompting further genetic adjustments by Ningish Zida. Earth experienced significant environmental changes, including increased heat, melting snow zones, flourishing vegetation, and natural disasters. Celestial disturbances and asteroid impacts added to the challenges, affecting the Anunnaki's mission on Earth. The third generation of Earthborn Anunnaki, including Inanna and Utu, took on new tasks alongside existing responsibilities. Enki established observation points and entrusted regions to his descendants, such as Nergal and Ereshkigal. However, the Anunnaki continued to face environmental and cosmic challenges, including strong winds, dust storms, and sulfur falls from the sky. Enki, Enlil, Ninmah, and Ningish Zida established a creation chamber in the Cedar Mountains near Ninmah's elixir seeds. The chamber became the center for multiplying cereals and sheep on Earth. Ninurta mentored Cain in sowing and harvesting, while Marduk mentored Abael in sheep breeding and herding. During the first harvest celebration, Cain offered grains and Abael offered sheep. Enki praised Abael's offering, but not Cain's, causing resentment. An argument over water led Cain to kill Abael with a stone. Cain was banished from Eden by Enki, and his lineage was altered by Ningish Zida to distinguish him from Adappa's other sons. The Anunnaki observed celestial changes and tremors, predicting a catastrophic flood caused by Nibiru's approach. King Anu's advisors warned of a great wave engulfing the Earth, leading to preparations for evacuation. Galzu arrived with a sealed message from Anu, revealing that Anunnaki who returned to Nibiru faced rapid aging and death due to their long stay on Earth. Galzu declared that Enki, Enlil, and Ninmah must stay on Earth and await the coming flood. Enlil announced that those marrying Earthlings must choose between staying or leaving without their spouses. Most Anunnaki, including Enki and his sons, decided to stay, while some, like Marduk, chose to leave with their families.
The Anunnaki Connection.
We have both seen the film that was taken out of the Dulce facility. Why would somebody make pictures like this showing the creation of some sort of alien being? And this is a facility. This is a facility that's run by the United States government. I mean, with your tax money.
Hamilton talked about the Dulce facility, and I've also heard about, genetic engineering programs at Area 51.
Yeah, there's no question that Dulce exists. I was the one that kind of led the research on that. I was at a meeting in Crestone, Colorado, and Tom Adams handed me a letter from a lady who lives in Las Vegas, and she was the one that tipped us off that this thing exists.
Don't this look like the Matrix? This looks like the Matrix right here. That's probably where they got the idea of the Matrix. It's probably really going on. What if, all these missing people end up going into Matrix capsules or pods? You don't really want to think about that, but hey, anything's possible.
Existed. So I talked to her, and she knew the location of some photos and videotape that had been taken inside Dulce by a guard who escaped during what they call the Dulce Wars of 1979. He used to contact her every 6 months, and he said, if I ever miss contacts 2 in a row for a year, you can go after this box, which they had hidden somewhere here in Nevada, that contained 6 minutes of videotape, 25 black and white photos, and some other documentation about what went on in Dulce. About 2 years ago, he did turn up missing. We never heard from him. And I think there was like 12 or 13 attempts after the box, but it had been hidden maybe at least 10 years ago in the terrain and the foliage, and everything changed. I don't think they ever got it out.
He said in level 5, you'd walk on by and people would be in cages and screaming and begging for help, and he was told to walk straight on through and not look or pay attention. Yeah. These people are all mad.
I heard that. And then from another source, Air Force engineering source, I heard that when he went there, they referred to it as Section D. Then Bob heard it referred to when he was up at the test site just once, and somebody mentioned something about it being shipped to Dulce, but that's the only reference he ever heard to it.
I call these the guys who are working in the facility as Igor's the invisible government's obedient robotons. So it really is a Frankenstein factory.
Learn today. Listen to the woman who wrote The Matrix and The Terminator.
Well, that's what the Matrix is about, to wake you up from the Matrix, to get you out of the illusions and the lies and the ignorance. So it's not dangerous for me, because that's my job. That's what I came here to do. That's why I wrote The Matrix and Terminator, to wake people up so they can move on to greater, better things. Yeah, but the Terminator is the prequels to the beginning of The Matrix. Sarah Connor is actually Neo's mother. So JC, John Connors, Jesus Christ, grows up to be Neo, one and the same in the Matrix. The Matrix is in the future. The Terminator is the past. It's time travel, past, present, and future time travel. It's the second coming of the Christ, the evolutions of consciousness, man versus the machine. So the machines, the Terminator machines, hear that a child is going to be born that's going to terminate them in the future when they oppress man. So see, it's a man versus the machine. It's God's children versus man's children, which was technology.
Wow, Sarah Connors is Neo's mother. Who would have knew? Did y'all know that? I'm sure a couple of y'all knew that, but I'm new on the scene. That's ridiculous. I mean, it's not ridiculous. It's cool. I like that they did that. I got to have a movie night, and I got to rewatch all of them. I got to watch Terminator first, then you got to watch Matrix, because that's the prequel.
They were interested in our soul somehow. How do we have a soul? How does this container hold a soul? That was a strange conversation. I thought, man, that's just weird stuff people talk about in this space. I was sitting outside of my office, smoking a cigarette at the table with all the guys from the 732nd, the communication guys that listen to people talk. There was a couple of officers there. There was a first lieutenant, a second lieutenant, and then I believe there was a lieutenant colonel. They were talking about how these beings from other planets were interested in our soul. How did our soul get in our body, and how could they extract our soul? How did it fit? Could they move the soul to another vessel? Stuff like that. It was like, it was crazy, but I just listened, and it started to make some sense that these beings from other planets are interested in our soul. And how is it in the container? And they could repair our containers and do all kinds of stuff to us, but they couldn't get our soul. They wanted to know how to capture the soul. We were on an Earth school. Our souls were in school. Somehow this is where our souls came to learn. And they wanted to know how to get our souls, for the knowledge of the souls, or something that we've learned in this lifetime, this incarnation. Supposing we reincarnate. I guess we pick our own lives and we made to forget, and then we're born again. And then we die, and then we go back to the soul world, wherever souls go, and We got to keep doing that to learn and learn and learn. And we're talking about all this interesting stuff I found fascinating. Somebody's got to be translating this otherworldly communication, and I just can't get over the fact that we figured out a dialect. Where did you figure it out? It makes no sense. And how many other species are we not aware of, or they're aware of and I don't know about? And, you know, something's wrong. It's a whole world of deceit. We're going to Iraq to get artifacts, not to get anything but artifacts. That was the most important thing, they said. There were things in Iraq that were so old that we had to go get. Bush wanted those artifacts. It was very important. We got them. They said they got everything they needed from that country. You're looking for the Ark of the Covenant type stuff. You know, weapons like that. It's a weapon. Supposedly it has the power to kill, and you're not supposed to look upon it or anything. We needed this for our own protection type thing. This is very important that we had this. Almost like a very big treasure, and if we have it, we're safe. They can't touch us type thing, and we've got it. Work with them under some kind of a treaty. Supposedly one of our presidents made a treaty, and that they agreed to give people to them to do their experiments in exchange for technology, and for us not to go back to the moon or something because of helium something on the moon. I remember that too. People that know what's going on, and older people that have been in the military 20, 30 years, will actually talk about that, and they'll laugh. And they'll say, everybody thinks it's us and our black helicopters, and it's not us. They're just growing babies. Like, wow, that's sickening. Major Hollowell, I think his name was, he's the one that confirmed that that's what they do. And he used to say, yeah, they always think that it's something to do with our government. They think the black helicopter's got something. It's not. They're growing babies, and that's the safest way to grow babies, sight unseen, so that they can have their hybrid babies come out of these cattle. They never said a percentage, but they said that they're walking among us all the time, and we walk right past them. And that's how close they look to us, that they will fool anyone. I was told this is our 4th time. We're no threat to them at all. The only thing that we're threatening is ruining the planet. But we're not a threat. And they don't want to eliminate us, but this is the 4th time. Supposedly they had this experimentalist society of a crossbreed, and we're number 4. Supposedly technology before us was way further advanced than what we are now, but it's eliminated. We can't even find it because it's eliminated. We're a warring people, and we cannot be controlled unless we fight each other, and everything that we do is destructive. So every society before us was destructive, and we're just going down the same path. We're destructive. It's just in our makeup. And I think they're trying to create something better. I think the whole goal is, from what I hear, from just listening to these people talk, is they want a better society. They want a better human hybrid.
The Air Force Base. A cigar-shaped ship appeared over the Air Force Base. These cigar-shaped ships were over a mile in length. One of them landed on the airport landing strip area. When it touched the ground, it created an earthquake like about a 3.5 to 4. It terrified everybody in the area. The back of this craft opened up, and several hundred young men with huge, heavy weapons came out of 2 sides of the ship and formed a protection line around the ship. And the people at the Air Force Base, the commander, had a meeting with the individuals that were aboard this ship. And this particular race that landed those ships and that are seen in these huge cigar-shaped ships, they are a black race. They look like African Americans. If you've ever seen a race of people that were conquerors, that had never been conquered, they've got this look about them. That's exactly what these extraterrestrials had, and they informed these people at this American Air Force Base.
Ted Rice, he was abducted since he was a kid, and he has an amazing story. Roll the footage.
When did you first encounter a mantis being? Well, you got to understand the nature of these aliens. We're dealing with non-human entities, but we as humans want to make them act and think like humans because we can relate to them better. And I deal with people, talk with people all the time who are very pro-alien. They really think and feel that they're here for our best interest. But yet I have not run across any evidence that makes me feel that's true. All the encounters that I've had with them have not been positive. And it's still an insect. It still behaves like an insect, and it feeds on flesh of other creatures. And I witnessed this on a ship where I was. I saw a craft come in with children, babies. I'm going to say that probably the oldest one was maybe 4. They were 4 down to toddlers, diapers, and they were brought in and they were taken off of this circular round craft onto a conveyor belt, and they were, now the children were kind of, I'm not going to say totally paralyzed because they were moving their arms and legs, but the children were somewhat like in a coma. But they rode this conveyor belt inside the compartment, and this is gross and this is horrible. But this story has to be told. People have to know what we're dealing with. This was a processing center where these children were being prepared.
Hey, watch this though. Like, y'all remember the movie The Relic or The Mimic? They were showing you that, you know, those cockroaches, but they really look like what prey mantises. They had hooks and everything, right? And how they was just going crazy on people.
For food to feed these mantis. And they were taken in there, and all of their extremities, their arms, legs, their heads, were all removed by a laser knife type thing. They just seared right across it, and it dropped off. And these parts of the bodies were packed in containers to be sent somewhere else. I'm not sure. I didn't witness where they were taken. But then the torso cavity was split open. It was put on continuing this conveyor belt, and it went down onto what looked like, it wasn't, but the closest thing I'd say to describe it was like a conveyor belt, but it rode very slowly as if it was like a buffet line. And these tall mantis, and there was bunches of them, they were feeding on the organs inside the cavity of these remains. Now, it's just frozen sick enough, but I saw it. I even told Barbara, I said, Mike.
Okay, I'm nowhere near done with this one. But I hope this lets you guys know, the ones who feel like they're all here to help us, they are not all here to help us.
This is an awareness video to show you the amount of children that go missing each year. And it just blows my mind, the amount of children that go missing each year. So let's go through some countries together of the missing stats of children each year. Let's start things off in Canada. An estimate, 45,288 children go missing each year. In Germany, an estimate of 100,000 children go missing each year. In India, 96,000 children. In Jamaica, nearly 2,000 children. In Russia, an estimated 45,000 children go missing each year. In Spain, you've got 20,000 children who are reported missing each year. Let's move on to our own country now, United Kingdom, yeah? Let's get on to United Kingdom next, our own country. Nearly 113,000 children go missing each year. What? How is that even possible? And last country on this list is United States. Nearly 460,000 children go missing each year. What on earth is going on? Where are all the children going? This is mad.
This next video was taken at a storage facility where a father owns a storage unit containing obscure vintage items. The facility is well known for being creepy, but it's the contents of this unit that's by far the creepiest. Among all things inside is a toy monkey that the father knows is worth a lot of money. Although initially not wanting to sell the doll, he now hopes that someone would bite off his hands as soon as possible. Ever since having it, the stuff inside his unit would move on their own. Now, noise complaints would often be made by employees who accuse the man of living in storage, but after setting up a camera to show that it's the stuff inside being thrown around, he captures this. Like something straight out of a horror movie, the toy doll moves on its own. The staff working at the storage facility were just as spooked as the man who owns this unit. He believes that this is the culprit behind the strange noises employees heard. While there has yet to be a prospective buyer for this doll, the man continues to document the monkey on the off chance that something else is caught on camera. But currently, nothing else has happened.
Hell no, that game is wild. Have you guys ever seen a card game like that? And I thought Jumanji was crazy.
Oh, it truly is about the Benjamin, as we see. Oh, yes, he's literally. It truly is about the Benjamin. Well, now when we come back, we're going to talk more with Puffy, and if you want to hang out, more than welcome to stick around, my brother. All right? We'll be right back with more right after this.
Well, it truly is about the Benjamin, as we see.
Oh, yes, he's glittering.
It truly is about the Benjamin.
Yeah. Well, now when we come back, we're going to talk.
That's why, do you know what the number one job of somebody that sold their soul in Hollywood is?
What?
Is to act like it didn't happen. They all do the same job.
I've been to plenty Diddy parties. I left early. I swear to you, I've never seen the stuff that they claim. I've never seen any of this.
That's why, do you know what the number one job of somebody that sold their soul in Hollywood is?
What?
Is to act like it didn't happen.
The Lucifer Telescope, but underneath the Lucifer Telescope is a massive underground bunker. The Vatican's assistant, that's, for aerospace and tech, says that they're, actively looking for aliens, and that the Pope can't wait to baptize the first alien. This is public press release by the Vatican that anybody can look up.
Baptize.
They want to baptize.
Because the alien needs Jesus.
Right.
I hate that. This is the thing, and I've said this on the show a million times, and I'll say it again, is when I was sitting in the front of St. Peter's Basilica, and I'm looking around, and I'm seeing everything, I'm going, this has nothing to do with Jesus.
Nothing. Zero.
Like, it has nothing to do with Jesus.
It's not even in the same category.
Nothing. Like, nothing. Nothing that the Roman Catholic Church ever has done has to do with Jesus. It's about power and control and their own agenda. It has nothing to do with it. When I discovered about this, the Council of Nicaea, when I discovered about all the other councils, about writing and building the Bible, and, like editing things out, like, no reincarnation, we can't have that. That's not good for control.
When it comes to discipline, you have to sacrifice loved ones.
Saturn is the lord of the black robe. Judges wear black robes. Catholic priests wear black robes. Rabbis wear black robes. Kids graduating from high school and university wear black robe. Saturn is the god of law, order, and banking. The inhibitor, the one who can put you in jail, can inhibit your business. Saturn is referred to as Lord of the Rings. Hollywood's still making movies about Lord of the Rings, and Americans just love it and have no idea in the world what they're looking at. They're telling you something, but you're not listening. The god Saturn in the ancient Phoenician world was referred to as El, E-L. This is why if you're continuing today to worship the planet Saturn, you become known as an elder. How did you get to be an elder? You got elected with elections. Because you were elected, now you're one of the elites. You have become elevated.
Solid oxygen.
This is solid or frozen oxygen. Look at the nice blue color and then think about our sky. It is paramagnetic and has a nice deeply blue color. Look at this. But because of the low temperature which is needed to create solid oxygen, it vaporizes into thin air, like you are seeing right here in front of your eyes. But before creating frozen oxygen, you need to have liquid oxygen, which you are seeing here. Again, a nice color like our sky. And it depends on the lights which are shining on this fluid, it changes the color. Look, like our sky, right? So watching frozen oxygen and think about our blue sky, just think about it. Yeah, really beautiful sky, blue sky.
You figured out a way to harness an untapped force in the universe. Enter this lab and everything you know gets tossed out the window. Welcome to the world of John Hutchison, where the improbable may just become our reality. John Hutchison has been dabbling with electricity for decades, copying the work of famed scientist Nikola Tesla, whose AC power still runs our world. Along the way, messing about with military surplus gear, John may have stumbled across one of the most amazing scientific discoveries of our age. Experimenting with radio waves and electricity led John to discover an effect which has mystified government and military scientists. It boils, it bends, it sends objects flying through the air.
I was building these replications of Tesla's old machines and found them doing fascinating things. Then this whole thing happened, this fluke kind of thing, the Hutchison effect.
This was some effect. Air squeezed out of bottles, ice drinks moving through space, drill bits levitating. An effect so convincing and so varied, it seemed impossible to fake.
In John's labs, I've actually seen levitation of rock. I've seen levitation of steel ball bearings, glass, where they will levitate. Unbelievable.
Dubbed by some as the poltergeist machine, there is no one machine, just a lot of old Army surplus gear, randomly tuned by John. No one knows how it works. John has apparently figured out the right combination of radio waves and electrical energy to create the effect. If it could be proven, its impact would be huge. You'd have to rewrite most of the science textbooks, especially the part about what goes up. And the story gets even weirder, involving both the Canadian and U.S. military intelligence.
Here we go, into my place. Canadian government seized my laboratory, which was 22 tons of equipment. I came back from Germany and moved into this place here and started my experiments again with Army surplus and Navy surplus equipment, which I got actually from warships, and bought a lot from various surplus stores in the United States and Canada, starting in 1994. And some of this equipment actually goes back to the 1940s, directional finding equipment, all kinds of neat configurations, waveforms and that, right up to 44 gigahertz. It gives me a wide range and wide spectrum of fields and that to work with.
Russian scientists discovered something in the vast, dark lake that hasn't been touched by light for more than 2,000 years. The South Pole, known for being an icy wasteland, has actually been a fascinating spot.
I have been told by a man who worked for the Defense Intelligence Agency for 23 years that the National Science Foundation of the United States has scientists that are meeting and collaborating with extraterrestrials in Antarctica in this deep underground installation, something that one of the military people said to me. The walls had hieroglyphs, but the walls did not join with the ceiling. He said, we can only conclude that we are dealing with technology that is neutralizing gravity. Advanced beings could deliberately have isolated Antarctica under deep ice and snow like a partition from the rest of the world as a terraforming strategy to cohabit on Earth while ensuring that the alien base at the South Pole would be hidden.
I knew it. I just knew it. According to Russia, Antarctica is not what we've been told. All my days. So they're saying a group of scientists stumbled upon a creature called Organism 46B. This creature is extremely dangerous since it paralyzes the prey with venom and then tears it into pieces. This creature motivates conspirators to believe in the existence of unimaginable monsters lurking in the depths of this gigantic and unknown continent. The creature was taken to a laboratory for further investigation, and it looks like an octopus with 14 arms. Unfortunately, one of the members of the crew was eliminated by the monstrosity. At the moment, scientists are studying the potential of the venom it produces. We don't know much more about what's going on in Antarctica, but one thing for certain, there are many secrets that we still don't know.
You're not even ready to imagine the craziness we're in right now. Antarctica is the most mysterious continent in the world. A new theory is so crazy that it could completely change your perception of the Earth. According to this theory, Antarctica is not just a massive ice continent, but rather an enormous ice wall that surrounds all the continents. In 1992, a new world map was created, the Gleason map, which shows Antarctica encircling all our continents. This theory goes even further. Some believe that if we manage to cross this wall, we will encounter numerous other continents deliberately hidden from us by governments.
So did y'all hear about this? A fleet of ships heading to Antarctica to see the new world over the ice wall? Cause that ice in Antarctica has been melting, hasn't it? The planet is heating up, and of course they would be the first to know what's new in Antarctica. Now ironically enough, I just seen this from Antarctica. Look at this, y'all. It's an underground entrance leading to somewhere, and it's in Antarctica. Look. Look at that tunnel, y'all. All that wind, y'all hear the wind? Oh. Just look at the shape of the tunnel. Look at that. Like, how do you think that's not a regular machine, huh? You see the way that those lines intersect, and they look at that. And I don't think it was a boring machine, because boring machines don't have teeth like that. Look at that. It's like a spiral. It's like an energy. It's like an energy vortex that created that tunnel, right? Look at this. What? Wow. Look at the walls.
Footage from Land Beyond Ice Wall.
All countries in the world have collectively agreed that no one nation can own Antarctica, governed by the Antarctic Treaty of 1959, declaring it a land of peace and scientific research. Never been broken, even during times of war, which makes people think they may be hiding something down there. Iron-rich waters are sporadically released from the Taylor Glacier, which looks like blood, but it's actually just the high iron content reacting with the oxygen, which turns it red. On numerous occasions throughout the 40s, 50s, even up until the 90s and recently, military expeditions have reported to have seen unknown flying objects in the sky. Silver, smooth, usually disc-shaped crafts that move in sporadic patterns. Similar descriptions to the UAPs that have been declassified lately, so I don't know, maybe this is where the aliens are at. Multiple videos and satellite views of several caves appearing to go deep within the icy surface of the South Pole, claimed to be the entrances to the Hollow Earth and the Kingdom of Agartha, as explained in Admiral Richard Byrd's diary, among many, many other similar accounts. Pyramid-shaped mountains found everywhere that are completely natural and totally not an indicator of an advanced civilization that may have existed thousands of years ago. More mountains, this time in the shape of an alien-looking face, kinda similar to the face monument on Mars we saw decades ago that was later covered up as a case of pareidolia, the human tendency to see faces in everyday objects. Which it very well might be, but like, damn, does this look like something more to me? Several mysteriously named areas around Antarctica, like Rothschild Island or Rockefeller Plateau, said to just be named after the famous billionaires, but theories surrounding them suggest these to be meeting places for the rich and powerful, where they discuss their evil plans far from anyone else. Some suggesting that it may even be the distant cousin of a certain other disgraced island where horrible acts were performed. Strange, deep blue shards of ice, rumored to have been studied by top-secret research teams at McMurdo Station. Said to be extremely cold, close to absolute zero, very light, slightly flexible, and doesn't melt but just continuously shrinks until it disappears. Many stories claim it to be pieces of what is infamously known as the ice wall, or part of the dome that covers our planet in the, pancake Earth theory. This guy, Carl Robert Dish, was a scientist stationed in a research base down there who stepped out and mysteriously vanished on May 8th, 1965. No one knows what happened to him, but the strangest part of this story is that his last known footprints led out into the middle of the Antarctic wasteland for some reason and then abruptly stopped with no trace of his body anywhere. Almost like he was somehow lifted up into the sky. Bottom of the iceberg right here, Antarctica is actually home to a race of demigod beings who control and created us. Extraterrestrial entities that came from the sky the ancient Sumerians referred to as the Anunnaki, and we typically see depicted with wings in ancient cave art and carvings. Top-ranking world officials and elites meet and work with them in ultra-secure, top secret classified bases beneath the ice, which a few ex-Navy officers actually did blow the whistle on, where they control and manipulate all global events, deciding what happens next on the world stage. Stationed in Antarctica to be as far away from the rest of us as possible and continue manipulating the fate of the world from the shadows.
could this be beyond the Antarctic wall? This is a possibility, y'all. What type of tunnels do you know that's ice covered? Very interesting, creepy stuff. It says Operation High Jump, 1946.
They lied to you. The pyramids of Antarctica aren't just snow-covered mountains. They're remnants of an ancient, advanced civilization. But that's not even the craziest part. In recently declassified documents and satellite images, there are unmistakable pyramid-like structures buried under the Antarctic ice. So, how old are these pyramids? And who built them? This is where things get really interesting. Ancient maps, like the Piri Reis map, depict Antarctica without ice, showing detailed coastlines and even mountain ranges. This implies that advanced civilizations knew about Antarctica long before modern explorers. New research and excavations suggest that these Antarctic pyramids were built by an advanced civilization that existed thousands of years ago, possibly even predating the last ice age. But once the ice covered the continent, their structures were buried and their technology lost, hidden away from the world to protect it from being misused.
I like how you can zoom in and do like the 3D and look at the city and everything. But my issue is that when you zoom out and you go into outer space, this Earth that we live on turns into a cartoon. Who's a cartoon now? Where's the real Earth? Oh, that's right. Space ain't a real place. That's why this camera doesn't go into outer space. In fact, I'm going to show you right now where these images come from.
It's not that they wouldn't use the magical floating satellites if they could. It's that they don't physically exist, nor does the globe. They have been sending these up one at a time since it all began. I will allow them to explain it.
It's also the genesis for NASA's newly developed super pressure balloon.
The reason for super pressure balloon is they have absolutely stable altitude, day, night, and it doesn't matter how cold the atmosphere is. They are sealed.
So your shape is always the same. You always displace the same amount of air, and therefore you have the same amount of buoyancy all the time.
NASA's been using balloons for science research for over 30 years. The exploration that can be done on balloons is continuing to grow. Standard balloon that I fly is about 660 feet long when it's made.
So let me get this straight. It is now public knowledge that they send up satellites on massive helium-filled balloons. As you should know, NASA is the largest consumer of helium in the world, for obvious reasons. But the issue with society is that they never critically think. Just think for a second here. If these are sent up to provide the world with all of the important information we need, and I'm sure the entire process is expensive and difficult to accomplish, then please explain to me what in the flat world do these pathetic animations do for you? Do they make you happy inside? Are they so super duper cool that you cannot see past the obvious CGI? The fact of the matter is everything NASA sends up on a balloon simply hovers above our motionless Earth. That is why they rarely speak about orbiting satellites, and of course, they never show footage. Here is some footage of a random evening with a man, the moon, and his Nikon P900. Notice anything floating up there?
Hey, Bart, so bright out you can't see anything in the sky except the Fox satellite. No, Lisa.
Then these satellites come crashing down. They fall out of the sky with those helium balloons attached to them all over the world. But you don't hear about it because you likely get your information from mainstream media. And I'm going to tell you why that's a bad idea. The same people that own the news are the same people that are perpetuating this hoax, alright? If you want the truth, you got to find it
Planes
yourself.
came crashing to the ground. The failed launch of a balloon carrying a multi-million-dollar space telescope had onlookers scrambling for safety.
You never know what's going to happen. This baby fell out of the sky and landed in our yard. It's never boring on the Welke farm. Thank God there's no horses out or it didn't hit the house. And it's still going and flashing.
For instance, on the Red Bull dive that Felix Baumgartner did that everybody has seen, if you notice, the outside cameras are clearly wide-angle lens, and then there's an inside cockpit camera that isn't. And as you're watching it from the outside cameras, you'll notice that the supposed curvature of the ball Earth starts really early on, just as he's lifting off, and the exact same curvature stays exactly the same all the way up to the point where he's going to jump. So the curve is the same, but his altitude has risen by many, many miles. The reason the curve is the same, of course, is because it's a wide-angle lens effect. It's not actually the curve of the horizon. It just seems that way.
Right.
And that's proven by the inside camera, which, as the door opens, you can see the horizon out that inside camera. It has risen to the eye of the camera. As I said, on a ball Earth, you wouldn't open that camera and have the horizon right at eye level in front of you, no matter how big the ball was. That effect can only happen on a flat plane, and you can see in that dive shot that the inside camera, the horizon is completely flat. Then it goes to the outside, and you get a huge curve. But when you're looking at some of the amateur balloon footage, some of it's lens corrected, and it's completely flat, and others, like the GoPro stuff, the horizon will fluctuate as the camera spins and tilts. The horizon will go convex and concave, but whenever it's still, it will level off that completely.
Strictly for entertainment purposes only. None of this has been fact-checked. Do your own research on everything to decide what is fact and what is fiction. And keep your head on a straight swivel.
What's in it? Felix Baumgartner. He would have been about 2 millimeters above the surface of this globe. That's his edge of space jump.
And keep your head on a straight swivel.
Now, you know, I don't. It's fine. He wants to. I don't have a problem if he does it, but the honesty of it would greatly diminish what I think people thought he was actually doing. And not only that, they make sure to photograph him standing there with a really wide-angle lens, which curves horizontal lines. So in the photo, you see this curvature of Earth's surface, and he's like, wow, he's in space. Look at that. No, he's not. At that height, you don't see the curvature of the Earth if you are 2 millimeters above this beach ball. You just don't. That stuff is flat.
And it is a soul harvesting unit. It's used to, at the point of death, so they say walk to the light. If I was you, I would take the other direction. But so then when you go there, there is highly advanced technology there, which then harvests the energy from the soul and the trauma and the sadness of the death of a loved one. It then takes that, wipes the memory from the person, and then at the point that it's necessary, recycles the body or the soul back into another body on Earth again. So it's a continual loop. That's what the Ouroboros is. That's the snake swallowing its own tail. It's infinite. So essentially, human beings on this planet have got caught in a time loop, and there is once again an opening to leave. We had an opening to leave when 13,000 years ago, when Atlantis fell. We didn't make it, so then we had to start again. Now again there is a window opening where we can leave and separate and get out of the time loop that we're in.
The mummification that you see in Egypt and these tombs, all the riches, all the gold, the cats, the wives, are all in there with you. When you go, everybody got to go. Well, why is that? If I'm going to go to some afterlife, I know that this money and gold ain't coming to the afterlife. They were told that the mummification process was about saving the DNA to be brought back to life at a later time. The beginning pharaohs, they were the sons of these Anunnaki gods. We promise you, we're going to bring you back. You're going to be immortal. We'll bring you back to life. So keep everything here, hide it good. While the tombs were hidden, they come back to life. Let me get my key so I can get my gold and get all my riches back out, because I'm a rule again. It was about preserving DNA to be cloned, transferred into a brand new body here in this realm, nowhere else.
Damn. Up from the dark web, an actual photo from a long time ago of a Draconian who lived among humans in a small town of the Netherlands. People thought he had a strange illness and were afraid to touch him, but never knew who this beast really was. Damn. Yikes.
So I'm reading from the book of Enoch, which was removed from our Bibles. This is referring to a type of angels and their names. And the third was named Gadriel, or shortened would be God. And he led astray Eve. Now this is literally talking about Satan, the one who led astray Eve, right, in the garden. His true name is Gadriel, which shortened would be God. Now if you go on Google and you type in God definition, you'll see this little name pop up next to it, G-A-D. God. The same way it's pronounced in Enoch, with that little vowel point above the A. Now look at this. Baal God means Lord of Fortune. Why do you think on the back of our money it says, in God we trust? It's not talking about the Most High of the Bible.
Right.
It's a reference to Satan, the evil one.
Knowledge is power.
Now check this out. Every time you see Baal in the scriptures, it actually is just the Hebrew word for Lord. Right. So we're not supposed to be calling him Lord either. All right, go into the Blue Letter Bible, click on Baal, and you will see it literally means Lord, which is the name they planted over the name Yahuwah 7,000 times in the scriptures.
That's right.
Every time you see in all caps, the Lord, it was originally his name.
That's right.
Yahuwah. If you don't believe me, go fact check me. I have studied to show myself approved.
That's
I'm
right.
just revealing to you guys what I have found. Don't shoot the messenger. Now remember what I said. We're not supposed to be calling him Lord because it actually means Baal. Go to Jeremiah 23 verse 27. His true name is Yirmiyahu, who attempt to cause my people to forget my name for Baal.
All praises.
Or Lord. Remember, guys, Satan is literally the father of lies.
That's right.
Look at this. However, the word Baal means Lord. Look it up. A proper terminology would be Elohim or Elohim. It means mighty one. But we should really be calling upon his name.
Are you still trying to figure out who that really is? Even after my first video? My first video where I make a pretty convincing case that this is no coincidence. But if you're still not convinced, hang on to your seats because I got some new information and it all stems from this beautiful statue constructed in 1848. You see, that statue is actually a statue of Lucifer, and it's called the Genius of Evil. And mostly, there are some pretty unmistakable similarities between this statue and a certain statue in the NYC. Let's start by examining this chain attached to Lucifer's ankle. Could that be a symbol of being imprisoned in the bottomless pit for 1,000 years? And you probably have never noticed, but I sure did. A very similar chain attached to that Statue of Liberty. And when you look at the faces of those two seemingly unrelated statues, they sure bear an awful similar resemblance. And did you happen to notice what Lucifer was holding in his hand in that statue? A 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 point crown? Well, have you ever noticed how many points are in the Statue of Liberty's crown? And did you happen to notice what type of fruit was hanging out in the bottom of that statue as well? And well, I really don't have to go here, do I? And although small, and at the very bottom of the statue, did you notice this torch laying on the ground? That torch that just also happens to bear a very similar resemblance? That torch that Lucifer, the light bearer, is often depicted with right in plain sight. So much in plain sight that you probably look right past it and might even unknowingly be rooting for it. But nah, it's all just a coincidence. They just happen to look alike and have the same pointed crown and the same torch and the same association with an apple and the same chain. Just a big coincidence. I had heard that this giant cave that resembled a dragon was in Egypt, so I wanted to explore Egypt. But instead of finding this, I found something much, much bigger. I found the literal corpse of petrified Anubis right in the middle of Egypt, shown here with his head even down to mouth and nose. Now you might not see it at first, but let me just make it a little more clear. We have his mouth here and his nose, his eyeball, his whole head here obviously, neck down to his body and torso, and he even has a tail. And when compared to some images of Anubis, you can see they look pretty similar. But there's a smoking gun, and I'm about to show it to you. You see, even in the hieroglyphics, Anubis is depicted with this, and sometimes that is in his staff, kind of like in this hieroglyph. And even in cartoon images, he's depicted with it. And I don't know about you, but what I see in that staff, I see right here, even with its long, straight, petrified staff. Now, if that's not a smoking gun telling you that this is actually the Egyptian demigod Anubis, I don't know what is. But let me also point out his tail that comes down and around. And I don't know about you, but that head looks awfully small for that body. Kind of like it was an afterthought. Kind of like originally, maybe it was something different. Now, luckily for me, you can explore this yourself. All you have to do is take a little trip to Egypt and see what you see. Now, I know this is a whomper of a tale, but I think I've provided you some pretty solid evidence to at least open your mind to some of these things.
Let's take a look at one of the most interesting and bizarre individuals in human history, Christopher, the dog-headed saint. Saint Christopher was born sometime in the early 3rd century in what is now modern-day Israel. It is said that he was a giant man like Goliath. He stood between 7 and 8 feet tall and was incredibly strong. He lived a very holy life from there on out and was eventually made a saint in the Catholic and Orthodox Church, but that doesn't answer why he is depicted as having the head of a dog. Saint Christopher was a Canaanite, and the Canaanites were often described as being barbaric or animalistic, so drawing him with a dog's head would have been an easy way to convey where he was from.
Cynocephaly is a mythical trait where a person has the head of a dog or jackal. The word literally means dog-headedness, implying a human body with a dog's head. This mythological concept appears in stories and legends from various cultures, including ancient Egypt, India, Greece, and China. But the Michigan Dogman was a creature allegedly seen in 1887 by 2 lumberjacks. It was described as a 7-foot-tall bipedal creature with canine-like features, blue or amber eyes, the torso of a man, and a terrifying howl that sounds like a human scream. According to legends, the Michigan Dogman appears every 10 years, specifically in years ending in 7, so 2027. Sightings mostly happen in the northwestern part of Michigan's Lower Peninsula. Believers say that clapping can scare the dogman away. In 1937, in Paris, Michigan, Robert Fortney claimed he was attacked by 5 wild dogs, and one of them walked on 2 legs. Other similar sightings have been reported throughout the years. In Wisconsin, the Beast of Bray Road is a name given to a wolf-like creature that has been reported near Elkhorn, Walworth County. It is also described as a 6 to 7 foot tall creature with a humanoid body covered in fur, a wolf-like head, and large glowing red or orange eyes.
If you're a dinosaur fan, hear me out. This is a T-Rex. And these are the stupid little T-Rex arms. It never made sense to me. Like, what's the point of those little teeny arms? So I looked up the skeleton to see what it would look like, and I was like, oh, look it, there they are, the little cute arms, adorable. But then I looked again, and I realized something, and I'm about to blow your mind. This is the skeleton of an ostrich. Want to see another? Oh, there you go. The T-Rex did not have arms. It had wings. I think I just made history. It's a dragon.
People even still today claim to see or even get attacked by biblical Nephilim giants. From well-known stories such as the story of the Giant of Kandahar, where U.S. soldiers were attacked by what they called a 13-foot-tall man, to lesser-known stories such as what I'm about to tell you about. These particular giants are referred to as the Solomon Giants. Following their attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, the Japanese Imperial Navy occupied islands throughout the western Pacific Ocean. Japan's goal was to create a defensive buffer against attack from the United States and its allies, one that would ensure Japan mastery over East Asia and the Southwest Pacific. Japanese forces had more to contend with than Allied soldiers on the Solomon Islands. While traversing the island's numerous remote, thick rainforests, the soldiers often reported coming across giant, hairy hominids ranging from 10 to 15 feet in height and covered in long brown to reddish-brown hair, with prominent brows, flat noses, and wide mouths. The creatures had immense arms and were known on occasion to even brandish crude weapons such as clubs.
And this is what the computer thinks the human is seeing. Yeah. But of course it goes further. So in this one, they said, can they understand the inner monologue, the things you're saying to yourself in your own mind? Mind you, by the way, when you dream, like your visual cortex runs in reverse, so your dreams are no longer safe. But we'll try this. So they had people watch a video and just narrate what was going on in the video in their mind. So there's a woman, she's hit in the back, she falls over. This is what the computer reconstructed the person thinking. See a girl, looks just like me, get hit in the back, and then she's knocked off. So our thoughts, are starting to be decoded. Yeah, just think about what this means for authoritarian states, for instance.
Saturn is inhabited. Somebody's there.
But the surface is not solid. It's gas.
First of all, no, you don't know that. You've been told that. I got stuff on Saturn you don't have. Very impressive scientist from NASA. He began to explain to me stuff about Saturn that blew my mind. My first question was, why the rings? Some of them have said the rings are like a dish, like a television dish for deep space communication. So when Saturn moves around, the rings are around it. It's like a dish. And there's a planet in between, so it looks like an eye.
Is that why they have the all-seeing eye?
That's what some of the best physicists and scientists and mythologists who work together have been saying for a long time. Saturn is very important in religion. The Jewish god today in Judaism is the planet Saturn. The Jews don't realize it, but Saturn is the god of Judaism today.
Please explain that.
In the ancient Phoenician language, the planet Saturn was referred to as Shabbath. So if you're going to worship Saturn and he's Shabbath, then you do it on a day you call Sabbath. Sabbath is Shabbath. So the Jews worship Shabbath on the Sabbath. And that's why they go to the synagogue and have their holy day on Saturn's day or Saturday. Saturn is inhabited. Somebody's there.
This world is not what we have been told. But they tell us, just very discreetly, like how this trail here is called the Dragon Head Trail. And it just happens to be right next to the Dragon Canyon. And this giant dragon takes up almost the entire state of Utah. And you can see it here, outlined in red right to its head. And how the belly of the dragon trails just literally probably happen to be the belly or the insides of a giant dragon. And when you go to the other side of the country and see similar things that are located right there, just also happen to be the insides of another giant petrified dragon with its spewing there and its mouth here and eyes there and its body almost the entire East Coast. And then when you leave the United States and go across the earth and you check out the Mayan volcano and see another dragon clear as day, and you realize the real reasons that volcanoes exist.
That is fascinating. Let's see if we can find some more.
We can levitate.
Yes, levitation is real. Please pay attention. We can float in all gases. Air, water, it's all buoyancy, and we're full of gases.
Could it be that levitation is possible? Evidence shows that we can levitate objects. Why not ourselves? Here you see an acoustic levitation experiment. Air is a fluid. Sound produces vibrations. When those vibrations are trapped between two concave surfaces, you get what's called standing waves. Scientists must use the correct frequency, which is many times ultrasonic waves, to cause levitation of an object. This knowledge is not new. Tibetan monks have known the secrets of levitation for some time. An Oxford scientist, Dr. Jarl, recounts seeing the phenomenon firsthand. They maneuvered a large block of stone onto a concave stone slab in the middle of a meadow, then positioned themselves at a 90-degree angle 63 meters away from this stone with large trumpets and drums. They started with just one drum, but as the sound intensified, to Dr. Jarl's surprise, the stone wobbled and lifted up off the ground. It floated about 500 meters long and 250 meters high into a cavity in the side of the cliff.
On the 25th anniversary of the event, in 1994, Neil Armstrong made a rare public appearance and held back tears as he spoke these brief cryptic remarks before the next generation of taxpayers as they toured the White House.
There are great ideas undiscovered, breakthroughs available to those who can remove one of truth's protective layers.
Followed by question and answer. At this time, I'd like to introduce the Apollo 11 crew, astronauts Neil Armstrong, Michael Collins, Edwin Aldrin. Neil?
It was our pleasure to have participated in one great adventure. It's an adventure that took place not just in the month of July, but rather one that took place in the last decade. We all here and the people listening in today had the opportunity to share that adventure over its developing and unfolding in the past months and years. It's our privilege today to share with you some of the details of that final month of July that was certainly the highlight for the three of us of that decade. We're going to divert a little bit from the format of past press conferences and talk about the things that interested us most, in particular the things that occurred on and about the moon. We will use a number of films and slides which most of you have already seen, and with the intent of pointing out some of the things that we observed on the spot which may not be obvious to those of you who are looking at them here from the surface of Earth. The flight, as you know, started promptly. And I think that was characteristic of all the events of the flight. The Saturn gave us one magnificent ride, both into Earth orbit and on a trajectory to the moon. Our memory of that actually differs little from the reports that you have all heard from those previous Saturn V flights, and the previous flights served us well in preparation for this flight in the boost as well as the subsequent phases. We would like to skip directly to the translunar coast phase, and
Remember when the ship crashed into the Baltimore Bridge? Why on earth is a crew still on it? 21 people for the last 2 months, and their phones are confiscated. Make this make sense. The day after the bridge collapsed, suspiciously, Biden came out and said, no investigation necessary. The US government will pay for the bridge. Shortly thereafter, the insurance company came out and said, we'll pay out too. In what world does the US government and insurance company pay out immediately without an investigation? Nothing to see here. Don't go digging around. Maui is still dealing with the debris removal and fighting with insurance companies 10 months later. But the bridge, no problem. Let's just pay it out. And then, now we find out that the 21 members of the crew are stuck on the ship, not allowed to leave, trapped, and their phones have been confiscated. Why are they prisoners? The news says they can't leave the ship because of visa restrictions. What? We let ungodly amount of people through the border without visas, but now it's a problem? The conspiracy theorists said cyber attack. Government quickly said, accident. What's really going on here?
I want to kiss Mike's big juicy lips.
You want to kiss me?
Indeed.
Huh? He said he wanted to kiss you. That's so ironic that he said that, because I saw a picture of him dancing at 16 doing a little dance on YouTube, and for some reason I had an erection.
Skip what the hell Jake Paul said, even though that was a huge pause too. But did you hear what Mike Tyson said? He catches an erection from a 16-year-old Jake Paul when he was dancing as a Disney Channel star. And mind you, Jake Paul is just sitting there watching him, looking at him like that, and didn't say anything, while the crowd is cheering and jumping. Like, am I stupid? Am I going deafblind or stupid? Or did you not hear it? Listen to it again.
Because I saw a picture of him dancing at 16 doing a little dance on YouTube, and for some reason I had an erection.
The Diddy situation just got even worse, but not just for Diddy, because the house of cards is crumbling. Is it a coincidence that all these CEOs are now stepping down as soon as Diddy got arrested? I think not, but here's a list of all these CEOs stepping down. CEO of 300 Entertainment, Kevin Liles, announced his resignation on 9/17. CEO of Nike, John Donahoe, announced his resignation on 9/19. Kaz Kobayashi, CEO of Warner Music Japan, and announced his resignation on 9/18. Max Lusada, CEO of Recorded Music, announced his resignation on 8/1. Julie Greenwald, Atlantic Group Chairman, announces her resignation 8/6. Randy Goodman, Sony Music Nashville Chairman and CEO, announces his resignation on 9/18. The dominoes are starting to fall. Cat Williams must be sidekicked because he did tell us that 2024 was the year.
Period. All of these big deviants is all catching hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever you is. TGJ, any of them. All lies will be exposed. That's all.
Did you know if you type in P. Diddy's address, he owes 1 star and 2 Star Island Drive,
If you punch that into Google Maps, you'll see it's in extremely close proximity to a massive shipping yard with lots of shipping containers. He's almost the closest house you can get to it. And if you go to Street View, that's his house right over there on the top, and then you turn around, the shipping yard's right there.
Jay-Z victims are going to be worse. They're worse. Because of the psychological torture that comes along with what he does. He's a sociopath. He doesn't have any real feelings or emotions. I think the only time he's really comfortable and happy in his own skin is when he's laying in the warm embrace of a man. Why you got painted in the mind with the videotape that I saw of him looking very happy in the embrace of a man? What was the last conversation that you and JC had? How did that go? He told me he was going to end my career and make sure no one in the world ever knew I existed, and I told him it was a pretty big world, and we'll see, Sean.
Y'all, is this real? You're gonna say, no, it's not real. Look at this dude's foot. Lil Wayne is literally a goat. Now, hold on. Let's back up for a minute. Let's zoom really close into his feet. Yeah, that's really weird, right? The only way this is possible is if his feet are split down the middle like that. Otherwise, that would not work. I also referenced many other pictures of Lil Wayne in his shoes to see what size he wore, to see that's his normal size. So please tell me what's happening in Lil Wayne's shoe. Is he really the GOAT? Before you say AI or Photoshop, I gotcha. I did photo forensics to find out that no, these pictures were not altered from their original state. Not by CGI or Photoshop. It must be AI then, right? No, this is a legitimate picture of Lil Wayne and his feet. Yo, what is going on right now? Isn't Lil Wayne the first one who started talking about he's the GOAT? It's really not far-fetched considering the Bible addresses these half-goat, half-human things. And the satire shall dance there. Satire. And with the Hebrew we get Sair. A satire may refer to a demon-possessed goat like the swine. Hairy, masculine, noun. They're also addressed in a different portion of Isaiah with dragons, which by the bones and dinosaur bones we knew the dragons were real. Christopher Columbus said dragons were real. Ancient Russia says dragons are real. The Bible also calls them devils. Little hairy devils. And I'm really sure that Lil Wayne was the first person to come out to say that he was the GOAT. The hooves don't lie. He's only told you 100 times, I'm not a human being. How about the fact that Lil Wayne came out of nowhere and was a child at the house of Birdman who's somehow in charge of him? Maybe some kind of faunish industry puppet? Look, y'all need to stop. It's right freaking there, and I showed you it's real.